Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's Brad from the Big Family Homestead, and I hope you guys are having a fabulous afternoon. Hey, listen, we are going to be talking about an interesting topic today, TEOTWAKI, or TEOTWAKI, however you want to say that, and we're going to get right into it in a little bit. This is a live broadcast, so if you're watching this as a replay, we're talking about prepper stuff. We're talking about this TEOTWAKI. Should I be worried about the boogeyman? Is there somebody coming? And if so, or if not, what should we be thinking about? And so without any further ado, I know in the thumbnail you saw my lovely bride, Christa, and she had fully intended to be here, but we had an unexpected doctor's appointment for our daughter, Grace. And so she is unfortunately not here. So I'm going to do my best to muddle through with her not helping and being, all things that Christa does. So without any further ado, I want to say hi to a few guys here, and then we're going to jump into the topic. And so we'll let's say hello. So hey, Melissa Mosca, if I said that right, hopefully I said that right. Two Sparrows. Hey, Life and Times of a Texas Mom. Hey, Kathy O. Me, Jay, Helen, and Marcy, Tiny Ducks, Melissa, there we go, Joyce, the Cajun homesteader, Vicky, Letha, Weedy Garden. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while there, Weedy Garden. How you doing? Mike DeFazio, good afternoon. Christine, Pam, Grim Cats, Felicia, and anybody else who is hanging around in here right now. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, here is the topic. It's TEOTWAKI. And I do encourage you to chat amongst yourselves, and I will try every so often to look down and read comments. So if I don't get your comment, please type it again. Or if it's a question, type it in all caps. That's easier for me to catch with my eye looking down at the screen. And so, by the way, I'm not like getting sleepy or anything like that, looking like this. It's that the camera's up here and the questions are down there. So, TEOTWAKI. We should have some explosions or something. Let's see what kind of sound effect I have here. I don't, maybe we're not supposed to have claps for TEOTWAKI. What about this one here? Not really thinking that one. What about this one? Okay, I maybe have run out of funny, radio guy sound blippy things. What it stands for, if you're unaware, TEOTWAKI. I bet you've been seeing it everywhere. There's all these people talking about TEOTWAKI, and all it is it's an acronym. It's for the end, T-E, the end of the world as we know it. Not the REM song. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's, the same same idea, but TEOTWAKI is this new concept that's been around only probably about 25-ish years, I suppose, that is popularly out there, but it seems to be ramping up in popularity. And what it is it's a concept that our country, our world, is not going to stay the same warm, happy, fuzzy place that it seemingly has been for a very long time. And go REM, says homesteading. It's the end. What is that? I have a hurricane. Listen to yourself, Sharon. Road something. You guys come up with the REM lyrics. It was very, very wordy. But it's this idea that life, the way it's been, is not always going to be the way that it's been just because it's been that way. And that actually makes a lot of sense. So if you live in a safe place, which most of us who have computers and have internet that's reliable, who can get on and actually have time to sit in front of a computer and either talk about a topic like this or participate in a topic like this, generally, we are in countries that are safe enough to actually have time to do this. There are places in the world that are very scary places, and they don't have time to sit around and do this. But the idea that we are going to be in this warm, safe, fuzzy place just because we were 50 years ago or 25 years ago or maybe even 100 years ago does not mean that it's going to be the same moving forward. Okay? Now, just think of some of the things in history. Some of the biggest empires have come and gone. The Mongolian Empire, Genghis Khan. Did you know that Genghis Khan was the head of the world's largest empire? It was not Rome. It was not Rome. It was not Great Britain. Look at history. Kingdoms come and go, and kingdoms that are just vast, they come and go. Countries, borders move. Things happen, political things. I don't like you. You don't like me. Oh, you don't wear a turban. I'm going to kill you because you got this. Or you got resources and I want them. Well, things happen. There are shifts in the world. There are absolutely things. And then you look at natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes. Right now, I was just reading some blips, guys, on the wildfires that are going on in California, Southern California. Hundreds of thousands of people right now don't have power. And how many are getting displaced? How many people's homes are burning to the ground? How many people's lives are completely TEOTWAKI? And we have this idea in our head that this is a scary word, like, ooh, should I be talking about TEOTWAKI? Maybe my friends will think I'm weird. Maybe they'll lump me in with those people on the Discovery Channel with the gas masks who go around using hamsters and gerbils for food, and it doesn't need to be. Okay, it really, really doesn't need to be. Mike DeFazio says, then there's Darth, what's his face, and that other empire. Yeah, TEOTWAKI. Something else happens. Sounds like something that came straight out of like Stranger Things, right? Well, we're going to talk about it today. There are 107 people watching right now, and to all of you, thank you. And by the way, how's it going, Raven Technical? Okay, here's the thing. Of the people that are in here, how many of you guys think that just our world, your world, where you're at, your local government, your regional government, that you kind of feel like you're good? There's nothing really that's going to happen outside of some kind of crazy thing, like all of a sudden an asteroid hits within the next 10 years, 20 years. How many of you think that, oh, you're pretty much insulated? I'm curious. Either you're insulated or you feel like, oh, no, gosh, harm's way could come my way at any time. If you want to just type it in, I'd be curious to see if you feel like, okay, no, it's just going to be business as usual, or no, things can change rapidly. So as you're typing that in, I would like to encourage you to look into history. Okay? If you look at history, the world has been at flux far more often than it has been at peace. I'm going to say that again. If you look historically, the world in flux, whether it's conflict or whether it's political positioning or whether there are moments of famine, moments of natural disaster, or you name it, but more times than not, things change rapidly. And usually, the world is more times than not having problems than it is having peace. I'm going to try and read a couple comments here. So here we go. Let's pause for just a minute. Kyle Krantz says, nope. I'm in a small country town and we're pretty insulated, but things will probably get hard here too. Raven Tactical says, The economy is on the verge of a total panic collapse, worse than the Great Depression. That's interesting. Amen breaks. The weather here is not bad. Some rain, some sun. Okay. The Cajun Homesteader says most all farmland and half preppers and half homesteaders. Okay. Sasha, North Dakota, or ND, whichever that may be, I don't know what you mean. Our local government and schools have gone crazy with implementing personalized learning, socialism in the high school. Sigh. Okay. Camp Patton Family Campground. We are so interconnected that everyone will be affected. Things can change in the blink of an eye, says Tiny Ducks. You know what? And I see that here, Mim Fleming 369 says preparing to live off grid. Brandy O says life's going to get tough. Grim Cats. Violent crime has been skyrocketing around here lately, and police are heartily handling it. So I don't think the government here is ready for a bigger issue. Now, Phoebe Long, who lives in Canada, I know, the government we have is coming here in Canada. Is freaking scary. Things are going to get really bad here. Canadians need to be prepared. Okay. TEOTWAKI, the end of the world as we know it. Now, the question I have, guys, is because I've been watching society, and I'll be open and honest with you. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I've been in the church my whole life, but that doesn't mean I've always served Christ my whole life, and there's a big difference in that. But I've been watching the world, watching the degradation of what seems acceptable, what is being adopted as normal, watching politicians run rampant, and the money system that we have, how it went from a gold standard, which meant if I went to the bank and I had $100 worth of paper money, I could trade it in for $100 worth of gold. Well, that's not anymore. It's so muddled and so mumbo-jumboed that it's really just numbers on a computer screen, and it's only worth whatever the federal government says it's worth. And if there ever was a rumble in the system to the point where it could actually make a rift, money could plummet like the Weimar Republic did. And it wouldn't matter. You could come to the grocery store with $100 and you might leave with $5 worth of goods or the equivalent. And so all of these things adding up. Now, I want to add one more. And you guys, let me see if you're going to chime in on this one, because I'm interested. I'm trying to catch as many comments with my eye as I can. But if you had to pick right now, if you thought, I do think there's something wrong with society, and I think that this is the biggest reason, what do you think what would you say is the biggest reason? And I don't think this is the very biggest reason, but I would say that this is a big reason, and that is this, that we live in a modern world. And what do I mean by that? Well, everything's accessible to you right now, right now, right now, right now. I want something, and therefore I don't have to wait for it. Credit cards. I want something, and I don't want to wait for it. Entertainment. I want something, and I want it now. And everything around us is fast food, fast this, fast mortgages, fast entertainment. And our minds don't work the same way 20 years ago. And I don't think that the people of today are equipped to deal with a major problem. If there were, say, heaven forbid, something happened in society to the degree of, let's say that there were power outages that rippled across the country, and now with power down in major shipping plants, like trucking, I'm talking logistics. If power's down in several of those hubs, Walmart hubs, Amazon hubs, if there's no power, trucks don't move. Well, if trucks don't move, products don't get to shelves. And if products don't get to shelves and there's no power, those products rot in place. And if they rot in place, then it makes an even bigger mess. And yada, yada, yippee, skippy, it ripples downhill. And the people that are hurting the worst are the people that have only been living with 2 days worth of food in their shelves at their house. Let me see if I can catch up and read a couple comments here. Selfishness is the root. Let's see. No community. Raven Tactical. Our government hasn't been a republic in 100 years, okay? RSJ Texas, turning away from biblical values. Felicia says instant gratification. Okay. Christine, I agree with you. Instant gratification has ruined us. Fast debt, or should I say lack of respect. We need to pass down skills that sustain us all, says Life in Times of Texas Mom. Okay. Trying to replace our republic in personal responsibility. Interesting. Keep the chat going, guys. Cajun Homesteader. Many have no skill set to survive a TEOTWAKI event. I'm going to go with that. Okay. Rose Freelong says, look at California and what happened with the PG&E power outages. Those people were warned and did nothing. True. And you know what? I think that kind of plays into the whole idea that we're so pre-programmed to just everything is provided for me, and all I have to do is just click this button, and then something's there. Or all I have to do is desire something to be here, and then it's there. Well, surely my life will never change. Surely my life will never change, right? Well, if you just read the news, I think that people that are willing to open their eyes are going to be able to see that chaos happens a lot more often than we would like to admit. TEOTWAKI. But now here's the kicker, guys. None of this has to be based in fear, how we react to it. How we deal with our day-to-day lives. Why would I go walking around as a believer in a state of fear whether or not, the dollar would crash? Okay? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Well, you know what? And Michigan Daffodil, please ask me that question again, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. Why would I go around living in a state of fear? Well, perfect fear casts out love. Well, and also preparedness. If I've gotten myself not talking about fear at all, like the reality, people, of if I had, $10,000 in the bank, which I do not, that'd be nice. But if I did have $10,000 in the bank and all of a sudden something happened on Wall Street that was out of our control and started taking people's IRAs, retirements, sound a little familiar. But then what happens if they didn't catch it and it made a shockwave so big that people start freaking out and running to the grocery stores and running to ATMs and running to get their money out thinking that it's going to be okay. I got my $10,000 out. Well, what happens? A ripple effect happens. And then prices freak out. Things go up and things go down. Well, the reason why I'm not afraid is because we have a couple years worth of food here at our house. And while that would stink losing $10,000, that's value. That represents money. It doesn't represent that to the government. But to me, it represents a lot of sweat and work that we've had to do to make $10,000. So why would I be afraid when it wouldn't really affect me that much. Unless it became like all Mad Max syndrome and people are running around trying to do stupid things. I mean, then you protect your family. So when we talk about TEOTWAKI, what I want to make sure that we are very, very clear about, and I know this is not the very beginning of this video. We're like 20 minutes in or something like that. But none of this is dealt with out of fear. It's dealt with out of self-control, confidence in God above all, trust and faith in God above all. I mean, think about it, people. We're all worm food, every one of us. It just depends on how long it's going to take us to get there. What are we going to do with our time here? That's kind of what's important. Do we submit, or do we just run around trying to live a few extra days? That doesn't make any sense to me. TEOTWAKI reminds me of an REM song. Steve, you must have come a little bit later. I already sang it, bro. I sang it for you. So let's talk about how do we deal with this calmly, without fear, and also start getting our butts in order. Let me ask you this, guys. Let me see this. Here's a question. I saw all caps, so it's catching my eye. If you have a 401k and retirement, air quotes, you are a prepper. Tell why not. Well, the Cajun homesteader, bottom line is this: you can't eat money. You know, if there's chaos in society, money is only going to do you as good as whatever you can trade it for, right? So let's say that you got $100,000 in your 401k or $500,000, and now all of a sudden there's chaos. Let's say that something goes wrong, trucking doesn't happen. Now all of a sudden people are roaming around and you can barely get a loaf of bread for less than $100 or $200. Well, your money's not going to last long, and you can't eat it. You could, but the fiber will, it'll tear you up, man. You don't want to know. But let's put it this way. If you're a hungry person and somebody says, you know what, I happen to have 10 chickens right here, and you happen to have $100,000, would you trade the $100,000 for a chicken if you didn't have any chicken and you didn't have a way to get any and you didn't have a way to get any other food? Absolutely you would. 401k is great if society is working. But if society is not working, it's vapor. It's nothing. It's nada. And you know what? I know I've got a lot of friends who, let's talk money for a minute. And you guys keep chatting it up. I've got friends who insist that, you got to have your precious metals, gold and silver. And you got to have, because everybody will trade for gold and silver. Well, you know what? I'm still going with, man, I'd sure rather have a chicken that could lay eggs over a couple 2-ounce things of silver. Saying, if you have one or the other, I would rather have the one that can feed me rather than the one that I'm kind of hoping I can trade to somebody for something that'll feed me. You follow me? In times of chaos, people, you revert to your base instincts. And again, we're not talking about any of this in fear. We're talking about ultimately, how is it that we can get our lives in order to a point where we don't have that emotion anymore? It's just not there. Just not there. Now, one of the questions I heard earlier, I believe by Michigan Daffodil. Let me see if I can find it again. Okay, how do you convince a spouse that wants his head in the sand? Well, Michigan daffodil. Okay. Now, every relationship is different in my experience. Some people, all you got to do is let them see TV for a little bit, and then they switch on and they're like, oh my gosh, that's happening right now. Some people, that's all that it takes. Some people, they just have seen too many of the prepper channel, Discovery Channel thing, and they just go, those prepper people, man, they're crazy. I don't want people to think of them like that. And then they dismiss it. One of the things I say to people is, look, okay, you have insurance for your house, you have insurance for yourself, you have insurance for life, you have insurance for your boat. You have insurance for blah, 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 blah. But all of a sudden, if you say, let's have 6 months of food in the house, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. I don't. Earl, did you hear what he said? They want to have actually 6 months of food in the house. That's crazy. I view that as food insurance, guys. I view that as just as much important as life insurance. As a matter of fact, I kind of think it's crazy not to. I think you're just rolling the dice going, well, I guess nothing bad happened today. But to continue on with the point with Michigan daffodil, I find, now this is just me, and you guys can chime in as much as you want and help her out. I find that if you try to make the other person, or get the other person into a chat or a situation where it's their idea. This is what I mean by that. It has to be their idea. Like if all of a sudden there's not enough bread at the house normally, and such husband goes, man, there's not enough bread in the house. And you might be able to say, oh, let me go down to the basement and get some. That might not be the best way. That might start a fight. Don't do that. But if you just if all of a sudden that there's not this and there's not that, and nobody's going to restock it, you might be able to drop little hints. Like, you know what? It sure would be nice if we had a couple more beans on the shelf. Sure might be nice. Sure might be nice if we had a blah, blah, blah. And then, you might leave a website open. It's like, hey, here's Thrive Life Foods or whatever, right? And it might be their kind of idea where they're like, we ought to try that stuff. Just try to create events in which they basement bread. On Louis, I'm looking at a comment, but maybe try to create events in which it becomes that person's idea. Because I know people that you could show them perfectly, this is exactly what you need. But unless it's their idea, they won't even hear it. They can't hear it. I'd try that. Okay. Let me see if I can grab some comments here. I'm not seeing any in all caps, so I'm just going to try and skim here. Yeah. This is terrible, guys. But Carol's Cottage says, my mother saved over $100,000, but then she got dementia. Her care could no longer be managed at home, and that money was gone before she was. It was a small fortune for care of dementia patients. You know what? And that's where we live. Money is not the security blanket we thought it was. It's not the security blanket we think it is. It's a tool, guys. Money's a leveraging tool. Money's a leveraging tool. It allows you to do things that you may or may not have been able to do. You can use it wisely, but don't forget, always don't forget, you can't eat money. I don't care how much gold you have. If I've got chickens and I don't want your gold, I'm not trading my chickens. And I'm willing to defend my chickens, if you know what I mean. So, let's see. Cajun Homesteader. It was a quote, not my point of view. Okay, just to clarify. And I don't think anybody was, thinking ill of you, brother or sister. Could be. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Trying to read some questions here. I think, guys, one of the things that it's like this. Pay your bills, live your life. If you got a couple bucks extra left over, why not consider, what can I do if I couldn't do X? Or if I couldn't do Y? Like I said, pay your bills, live your life. And then do your best. You can go to the dollar store and get a bunch of preparedness items. Go get, you got only $10. Go get $10 worth of stuff. Better yet, find, like in our area, and I've found that there are these things in just about every area that I've seen, is there are emergency food pantries. Like a lot of churches will do them. Sometimes like just regular outreaches will do them. In our area, there's one called Ruby's Pantry, and they will load you up, guys. Okay, on Louis, I want to answer that question. But they will look. Hey, this is actually a great place to start. Good segue. On Louis' question is, talking to a 30-year-old Brad, where do you start? Okay. Look for deals. Live your life. Pay your bills. Start with educating yourself. Look on YouTube. But be selective. I got to tell you what, guys, there is more baloney information out there than there's good information. So be very careful who you learn from and invest your time from, because it could absolutely go bad for you. If you're looking for survival type stuff, I would recommend Bear Independent. I would recommend Viking Preparedness for survival type stuff, and not a whole lot more people. I mean, if you're looking for like gun videos, Hickok is great. There's a lot of guys. But if you're looking for survival and preparedness stuff, be careful, because there's a lot of guys that all they do is sell fear. They try to make you be afraid. They try to do, things. Oh my gosh, you got to run around and you better get AR-15s and get in the mud and the children are coming and you're going to, no. Those two guys are pragmatic, they're realistic, and they're wise. They don't try to be alarmists. So check them out. But now going back, where do we start? Look around for food pantries that have deals. In our area, Ruby's Pantry is the local thing. And every month they go and you bring large laundry baskets, and they fill them to over full for $20. And then lots of other stuff that they'll just load you up. Like last month, we didn't make it. And we were like, oh, we forgot about Ruby's Pantry, because they've given us like big things of pickles like this big. And we got, it was like honestly, like an 8-gallon thing of ice cream and a big thing of humongous thing of peanut butter, in addition to your big baskets full of food. But this past month we didn't make it, and we thought, oh, bummer, oh gosh. And then we were at a little gathering for some friends of ours, and one of the other families that was there was like, oh, they were giving away all this bread, and it's all frozen, and it was all going to Whole Foods Market. Okay, those big, nice loaves of bread that are just super awesome, and they're like $8 each because it's Whole Foods. This family gave us, honestly, probably 20 or 30 of the loaves that they didn't need, and they're frozen, and they were all on top of the other stuff that they got. So you get tons and tons and tons of, but the point is this: if you got a few bucks, like I said, pay your bills, live your life, don't go crazy, no more going to the movies or anything like that, save your money. But then start looking in your pantry going, all right, what do I got? Do I have anything? I mean, start out with the basics. Like, could I make it a week if I did not go to the grocery store? In the meantime, start watching YouTube videos. If you're looking at survival stuff, again, Viking preparedness, bear independent. Be very selective who you spend your time with, because a lot of people will deceive you so that they can just sell you something, sadly. Get yourself educated, And then after that, start thinking, okay, well, once I've got a week, now I need to start looking at how do I make my food stretch longer? Well, what are those things? Well, okay, you can dehydrate. Maybe you can find a cheap dehydrator and dehydrate food. That way, when I'm going to tell you a great secret, but it's not for, okay, think dehydrator. Sorry, I'm having a brain dump here where I'm trying to give you guys more than can come out of my mouth at one time. Dehydrator. Okay, during the summer and even in the fall and even in the spring, just not in the winter, when you go to flea markets, go to the produce sections and the vegetable sections on Sunday afternoons about an hour before closing. Trust me on this. Go about an hour before closing, because what happens, guys, is most of these people don't actually grow their own produce unless they are the farmer, okay? If they're the farmer, they're growing their own produce. And even still, they've picked it. Now what are they going to do with it? They can't sell it. They couldn't sell it. Hey, honey, I got 40 pounds of broccoli left. What do you want to do? Well, you can go into the flea market, because I've watched it happen at least 3 or 4 times where it's Sunday afternoon and they're getting ready to leave and they're dumping 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds again and again and again of perfectly good produce right into the dumpster, because they don't want it. It's not going to make it till next week and be good looking enough to sell. So learn how to dehydrate, go to those flea markets, and you will get stuff for 10 cents on a dollar, which is already affordable. Okay? You can already do that. And then once you learn how to dehydrate food, then learn how to can food. Water bath canning. Learn how to make gems and jellies. I'm getting brain dumped. I can't get enough out. Jams and jellies. Start learning how to do all these things. And here's the thing, guys. Once you start getting to a place of, okay, I've got about 6 months of stuff here. Maybe start thinking about freeze-dried food, because then you're talking longer term. Then more education, more survival, more preparedness. Learn how to make basic things like can you filter water? It's pretty important. You can't do a whole lot without fresh, clean water, right? That's how I would say start. I would say live your life, cut out as much as you can without, still pay your bills, live your life, then start seeking out the good deals. There are good deals everywhere, people. Then how do you keep it? How do I keep it? I can learn how to dehydrate. I can learn how to can. And also, then here's another great thing. I can learn how to barter. Let me tell you, people, if you know how to make a good jam or a good jelly, there's a lot of stuff us big boys will trade for a good jam or a good jelly. Maybe you know somebody who's got chickens and you don't have chickens yet. And I'm saying yet because I hope you'll have chickens. But let's say that you don't have chickens yet. Well, then you might go to somebody and say, hey, I've got this, I got this pint of elderberry jelly. I'll trade you for a couple dozen eggs. Deal. Come back again when you got some more. Make those connections, right? Let me see. I'm going to I see a comment here that is in all caps. All right. So important to be able to take care of ourselves. We daily strive for that here in Montana. Oh my gosh, yeah, Montana's beautiful. But you want to talk about country that can turn on you quick. Montana, beautiful. Michigan says, been dehydrating grapes this summer. Been getting great prices, yeah. Daniel got as my judge says, so, Brad, what do you do when the cane sugar is all used up? You figure out other ways to make sugar or barter sugar or get sugar. Guys, there's sugar in a lot of things. Like, believe it or not, there's, oh shoot, what's the plant up here? Doggone it, I'm going to mess this up. I'm still learning my local plants, so forgive me. But there's a plant that's like in the wet areas here, and I'm going to mess it up. But you can actually pull it up, and you can get the juice out of it, and then you can create sugar. Well, that and obviously like maple trees around here, you can get sugar from maple trees. You can get sugar from beech. Is it beech? Birch trees. There's a lot of ways you can get sugar. You know, it's know your area. Let me see. That's some of the first ways I would get going. What is my first thing to invest in, vacuum sealer or dehydrator? Okay, to answer that question, Marcy, I would ask you this. How much food do you have stored now? That's an important question to ask. Watercress, I think maybe Liber Lady. And honey, Sasha, perfect. Bees are everywhere. Cattails, Liber Lady. I think it's cattails. I think you're right. Cattails. Let me see. To answer your question, I need to know. Type. Hey, Larry Parrish, honey, absolutely. But where'd her name go? Oh, shoot. Got away from me quick. Which one to invest in first? Oh, Marcy. If you have some food on the shelves, then I would suggest if you've got enough in the freezers, if the freezers are full, fill up the freezers first. If the freezers are full, then go with a dehydrator. If the freezers are not full, get your vacuum sealer. However, I'm going to say do both. And here's why. You guys, the guys out there are going to know this, and you're going to be like, oh, I've seen your video on this, Brad. We have a video on this. And you can get an attachment that goes right with regular old quart sealing jars. You put your food in it, you seal it up, and then it's got this special cap on it that goes to a brake bleeder from a car. And that brake bleeder, by pumping your hand here like this, it creates a vacuum, and it vacuum sucks all the stuff right out of the jar. So for like $15, you can get your vacuum sealer, well, and a workout. You'll have Popeye arms before you know it, like that. But that way you have a sealer really cheap right there. So I hope that answers your question. If the freezers are full, go with a dehydrator. If they're not, I'd say a vacuum sealer and or consider both. All right. Let's see if I can grab a question or two. Trade your skill at blacksmithing. Sorghum. That's it. Sorghum. Sorghum's everywhere here. Sorry, Ashley. They were asking about sugar. And you can grow sorghum like crazy. Sorghum, I have not experienced it yet, guys. I have not experienced sorghum yet, but I am told that when you refine it, it's amazingly great, and it has health benefits that are actually good for your body rather than processed white sugar. Okay, I'm seeing a question here. Brad, do you hide food away in your barn? Is the thinking of others question. And the first thing I'm wondering is, are you planning on sneaking over and grabbing a no. Yeah. Well, we do hide food in our barn. They're called cows, pigs, and chickens. But you better watch out. I'm very protective of my chickens. I will defend my chickens. Yeah. If you're asking if we like store food in the barn, the answer is no. But that's because that barn looks like it's going to fall down at any moment. We keep propping it up and propping it up and propping it up. And doggone if I can't tell you guys, I think it's, I'm concerned it's going to last this winter. I keep propping it up. Every time there's a snow, I pull the snow off the roof, but it's cracking and creaking. So we're trying to put all the important stuff where if something were to fall, the important stuff doesn't get squished. All right. Yeah, you better watch out. I'm very protective of my chickens. Okay. Patrick Bear says Lumina Acres uses a brake bleeder to milk his goats, and it works great. Yeah, we've been using a brake bleeder for years. I showed that video probably 3-4 years ago, and it was one of the first ones. It was like an aha moment. I was like, wait a minute. I thought I saw an attachment that'll go right to a vacuum hose. And if that's the case, not a problem. Works great. Let's see. Life and Times of Texas Mom. If you vacuum seal your jar, do you need to do a water bath? Okay, that is not the same kind of thing. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's not the same thing as water bathing. That's like canning. Or even that's like canning is water bath. Pressure canning is a whole different thing. But when you vacuum seal something, it's already ready to go. You're just removing the oxygen from the actual jar. So it'll make whatever it is that you got in there last longer. For example, thank you, Marcy. That's very kind of you. My daughter Grace, we make a powdered freeze-dried food. We get the freeze-dried food from Thrive Life. You guys know we do the Thrive Life thing. So we get it and we grind it up into a powder. Well, then we put that in jars, or we put that in Mylar bags, or we vacuum seal it. And that way, what was going to be good for 6 months or a year or whatever, now will be good for a lot longer. That's why we do it. Yeah, correct. Liber Lady, vacuum sealer is for dry goods only. That's correct. That is correct. Okay. Have wood cook stove for the main heat and cook on it. Jersey cows, chickens, got it all, says Ava. You're ready to rock and roll. Rain Country uses a brake bleeder too. Hey, Phoebe, I showed her that years ago. But that's just between you and me. I like Rain Country. Yeah, Liber Lady, store candy, season mixes, grains. I agree. However, I will tell you one horrible thing about using the brake bleeder with candy. Sadly, the gumballs don't stand up to the test of time, and the chocolate goes hazy. It's a fact of life. What happens is this, guys. Like I have this unhealthy addiction to gumballs, and I have been gumball free for over a year. Hi, I'm Brad. I'm a Gumball Addict. Hi, Brad. And I've been clean for over a year. Gumballs. I like gumballs. And when we used to live in Cincinnati, there was a store there called Jungle Gyms, and they had a wall. You would imagine the amount of candy that they have in there, and they had a wall of gumballs, like when you go into the health food stores and you get the big scoops, you go and you throw it into your bucket or whatever, and there was like 40 choices of gumballs. So I'm like, scoop, and I was putting this in there thinking, and I had 2 bags, no lie, of basketball-sized gumballs, and I go up to the register, I'm like, and the guy looks up and goes, and I said, we don't get here often. And so I brought the gumballs home thinking, well, I'll use my brake bleeder and I'll put them in there, and they're there, but 2 things happen. When you bite into it, they're no longer soft at all. They got rock hard, like chip your tooth hard. And then when you bite them, the candy coating that actually has all the flavor just goes. So it's probably best that I don't have, good tasting gumballs, because I'd probably eat them too often. But then the other thing is the chocolate. Okay, We've tried the chocolate in the vacuum things, and it still tastes like chocolate. It's still usable, but it gets really hard, number one. And number two, it gets a haze over it. It gets a cloud. But you bite into it, and it's hard, and it's chocolate. I guess the way I look at it is like this, is that if you couldn't get chocolate and you're like, man, I got a fix for chocolate, you would be absolutely super happy to have that. You would be delighted to have that. But given the choice of a fresh Twix or a 3-year-old vacuum sealed Twix, I'm going with the fresh on that. Let's see. If the government comes and takes your food, would you say we should have to hide food on our land? Says Thinking of Others. Well, let me ask you this, Thinking of Others. Why would the government come and take our food? I know that, in times of war, that they have seen, not us, not our military, but other militaries have been known to force to, I don't know, feed and quarter people. Quarter, like put them up and they have to stay in your house now. Okay. Felicia, still have your jars of gumballs. Actually, I was down in the basement yesterday and I found 2 more jars. I did. I want some Whopper caramels. Malts, yes. Yeah, no kidding, Mike DeFazio, the fat. There is a part of that. But the question I have, guys, is why would the government want to do that? I mean, unless they're like clamping down on life. I mean, think about it. Even if there was like some evil element out there, evil element, they're here. Well, don't they just want to control you? I mean, unless you're going to go Agenda 21 and then they want to eliminate you. Well, then in that case, why would they take your food? They would just shoot you. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand that. Like, I don't foresee them going, man, well, let's get rid of everybody's food. Because if they were just going to do that, wouldn't it just be cheaper to eliminate people? And that's gross. And I don't want to. See, now why'd you make me go down that road, bro? Come on. Anyway, here's the thing, guys. The main goal of talking today is preparedness. Preparedness without fear. TEOTWAKI. The end of the world as we know it. What if it did? What if tomorrow some crazy North Korean offshoot decides, you know what, we figured it out. We're going to fire an EMP in the atmosphere above, lower atmosphere above the United States, and poof, they figured it out. Or somehow, or they set it off in a way that, all of a sudden 3/4 of the country has no power and would not have any way of getting power for probably years. Excuse me. If that's the case, would you be able to live like a cave person? Honestly. I mean, we personally have solar power generators and we need them. We actually have a backup to a backup to a backup. And then we've got other ways of backing things up. But how many people, when winter rolls around, would not be able to go and cut wood because they physically cannot? Oh, they have an axe and they've got a chainsaw and they run that chainsaw for half a day and now there's no more fuel and there's no way to get it. Whoa. Now, once again, we're not dealing with fear. How do I get myself to a point where it's like, okay, if I couldn't get to the store, it's my job to provide for my family. If I can't get to the store, what do I need to do? What are my steps? What are my steps? Alicia says, Brad, how do we as Christians live without fear? I know God is in control. That is true. And that's how it is. I was trying to explain, we were doing a little bit of a science lesson earlier today with my kids. And I was teaching them, all of them, what 3 things do you need to have a fire? What 3 things? Everybody should know this without hesitation. You need heat or combustion. You need heat. You need fuel, and you need oxygen. And so I was showing them with a candle. Got a candle here, and then I've got a bigger cup, and the candle's going, and I'm explaining how it works, and I put the cup over the top, and we all know what happens after 30 seconds or so. It goes out, and it's snuffed out. And I said, you know what? What happens if we put a bigger cup on here, something taller? What'll happen? Like, it'll last longer. And then we put it on there, and sure enough, it lasted longer. And then we put a smaller one on, and what's going to happen? Well, it's going to go out really fast. Yeah, and I said, well, what's the common thing with the candle? Well, without the oxygen, they're all going to go out really fast. And I said, so every one of these in every example, the candle's going to go out. Yeah. And I said, well, you know what? A lot of us, it's like that, guys, that every one of us, every person you will ever meet, we're all like that candle. We're all going to be gone at some point. Whether it's tomorrow or whether it's 30 years from now is up to God. It's his purpose, his plan. He's bigger than anything we can think up. So why should I live in fear when I have no control over it? I should live in a state of preparedness. As a job, part of my job is to take care of my kids. Well, part of taking care of my kids is making sure they understand how to protect themselves and protect their families and protect people around them. But most importantly, be devout to Christ. That's it. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that we have another breath. There's no guarantee that we have another tomorrow. It's his plan, not my plan. And so we're all going to be snuffed out at one point. So the real question is, what are you going to do with the time you have? We're all here for X amount of time. Why don't we exalt the Creator that gave us life in the first place? Yeah, we got stuff to do. Yeah, we got jobs. Yeah, we got to fulfill life. But can't we praise him in that? I think so. I really do think so. So to answer your question in a more concise way, I think we try to honor God in everything we do. Even in a broadcast talking about how to be prepared without fear. We're all going to die. It's only a matter of time. Why not do what you can do to honor God and live a great life while we're here? So, that is an excellent way of saying, Sherry from Fane, OK. She's tired of waiting for an answer. Well, Sherry, I guess maybe you should have put it in all caps like I asked about 20 times. Just saying. I didn't even see your comment. But anyway, we have breath in our lungs, Brad. That is correct, Tim. And my hope, guys, is that we will be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna get off this live stream, and then I'm gonna go do something that's awesome. I'm going to do my best to honor God in what I'm doing. And one of those things is to prepare to be able to provide for my family. Well, how do I provide for my family if I know something bad could happen and I do nothing? Well, that's not preparedness at all. That's sitting with blinders on. That's acting like nothing bad's going to happen because, remember way back in the beginning, because nothing ever does. And that's pretty much just ignorance. So, for those of you who are not believers, I'm going to say a quick prayer. And so if that's not your thing, I don't want to force it on you. I'm not going to sneak prayer. Hey, I'm not going to do that. But if you stick around, that'd be great. I promise it won't be painful. If you got to go, love you. Bye. For those who are sticking around, here we go. Father God, thank you so very much for these people. I would ask, Lord, that you would just give them a tap on the shoulder and remind them who you are and what you want us to do, and that you love us, and that you'll never leave us, you'll never forsake us, no matter what the situation. And I ask, Lord, that you just give each and every person a little bit of a hug and just tell them, as a father does to a daughter or a son, that you love them. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All righty, guys. You guys have an amazing and blessed day. Bye.